Behind every great brand is one brave moment, the moment it gets its name. Welcome to How I Named It, where I talk with founders and brand owners about how their brand names came to be. I'm Scott Milano, the founder and managing director of Tange. We're a global naming agency, and today I'm joined by Francesca Witzburg, founder and managing partner of ESCA Legal. ESCA is a team of intellectual property and brand protection attorneys who bulletproof their clients' modern brands. And today we'll dive into how ESCA, the firm's name, came to be. Francesca, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Scott. I'm excited to be here. And I wonder if you announcing me gives any clue to the firm name.
Before we get into the ins and outs of the name, which I think has a pretty clear root, but it's also got some nice subtleties to it, I'd love to learn a little bit more about ESCA, the business side of it. What's the firm all about?
The firm is about modern brand protection and modern legal strategies. So COVID changed everything, as we know. Brands that weren't online suddenly pivoted. If they didn't have e-com then, they were immediately e-com. So, it used to be, even for luxury brands, 10 years ago, there weren't businesses that were selling online, especially for luxury. It was traditionally in retail, or you would have to go to a partner's store, whether it was Nordstrom, to buy. But with the internet and with social media, that rapidly changes the way that we shopped. It also changed the way that brands are being attacked. So while maybe 10 years ago, it was only Fortune 500 companies that had knockoff problems, that has changed dramatically today, where we're seeing emerging brands that go viral and grow companies thanks to social media and the digital world, but they are equally getting knocked off and having legal issues of Fortune 500 companies. So I built the firm basically understanding that those businesses are real, they're growing, they need good lawyers that understand the digital economy to help protect themselves and to fight fakes. So my background is in big law. I worked at the world's biggest law firm in Manhattan for several years. I then left, pivoted, started my own book of business, and eventually started our own firm, which is ESCA Legal. And now we have many employees and attorneys who help us with these programs and building out brand protection programs for clients. So the whole overall concept of the firm is, how do we modernize law, make it efficient, while brands, including emerging brands, can get the legal advice and the enforcement that they need?
Absolutely. And I think, in the spirit of working with modern brands and clients and digital first businesses, your brand in and of itself feels modern compared to the wood paneled world of big law or traditional law. I'd love to learn a bit more about how you arrived at naming the firm with a more proprietary branded name and just giving it more of like this modern feel and flair, which it certainly has.
Well, most firms are last names, right? So if you look at a law firm, it's, 6 partners and their last names. Or maybe it's one partner's name, they've whittled it down. Only a few years ago did the New York and New Jersey state bars allow branded firms. So that's number one. When I created the firm, we realized, let's do a brand. Let's not just have our last name, so that we can grow something that is a brand, not just 4 partners or 5 partners or 50 partners. We really are creating a brand that clients know what they're getting. They know what our values are. They know what we do. So when we created the brand, I did not want anything like feminine, or I just want I just wanted a powerhouse, prestigious law firm name, right? So when we worked with when we worked with somebody who helped us give us some options, the first name was ESCA. I immediately was like, oh, no, 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 that's too female. It's a reflection of me. Let's go forward. And my husband turned to me, he said, but that's the name. You are a woman, number one. That's the reality. And it's not overly feminine. You're not going to repel people or, push people away just because of the name. But also it's fun, and people may not get it immediately. And I can't tell you how many of my friends and family are like, oh, well, that's such a cool name. What does it mean? So even though you may think, okay, it's ESCA, it's part of Francesca. And those of you watching, you may not have even did the connection yet, but it's ESCA, the last several letters of my name, and it's a play on ESQ, which is short for Esquire and short for an attorney. But I think what was cool, what ended up happening was announcing it and realizing like, wow, this is very cool. And I had a realization. Every company is a reflection of its founders.
Absolutely.
So, think about when Steve Jobs created Apple or Jeff Bezos when he created Amazon. A lot of it, you can tell it's a form of art. Creating a company really is you're creating, you're building. And so when I was thinking about how I want to build the firm, I did build it in line with who I am as a person. The values were very client facing. We want to speak in plain language. We want clients to know, like, and trust us, but also I am a woman. I can't deny that fact. So I think having that authenticity and owning who I am instead of just wearing a black suit, putting my hair back, and almost trying to make my femininity invisible, I'm showing up in a way that is still authentic to who I am as a human and as a woman, but also in a way that isn't off putting people. So that was a challenge that I had to mentally overcome, Scott, candidly. But by doing this, it's been 3 years now that we've had the firm. We have so many wonderful clients. We have a $1 billion brand client that you know and you probably love. We have a lot of emerging brands that are going viral on platforms that need a lot of help. So all across the board, it's a variety. Our centerpiece is brands. We are brand counsel. And when people think about that, there's a difference between representing a creator, right? Like a creator, a content creator, or an influencer. There's a difference between representing publishers. So while all of that has to do with IP, our ideal client typically is the brand. The brands do deals with creators. They do deals with publishers. They are even influencers that have created their own brand. So a lot of influencers are now transitioning to the brand category where we represent them through the creation of their own brands. So rather than just sell whoever else's product and get paid a flat fee, the influencers are now creating their own consumer product brands to sell those. And that's kind of where we come in.
What was the moment? So, I mean, you talked about first you had hesitation and some doubt with
Yeah.
ESCA.
Yeah.
It didn't meet the brief per se, or, exactly the way that you wanted. Your husband leaned in and mentioned, hey, this is really it. But what was the sort of moment that you were like, it just clicked for you when you went from doubt to like serious belief and all in?
Well, firstly, I realized it doesn't matter what I call it, really. I have faith in it. So I'm like, it doesn't really matter. I don't want to get so caught up in that. So we just ran with it. But now I think once I heard him like it, and he's a man, and then I tested it with some of my friends. They loved it. Italian and European, and we're global. We're New York centric, but we do global IP, and I am part Italian. So I felt like overall it was saying, hey, we are different. This is a modern law firm. It's not just 10 men, 10 men that all look and sound and dress the same. We are the modern day attorney, and we advise modern brands on modern day issues. We get our hands dirty, we use social media, we understand the intricacies of selling on platforms and how important those platforms are to a business. So ultimately, after Adam leaned in, I leaned in, and the I think the way that we took the name and then did all the branding around it and being really intentional with the photos and the colors, it's a very powerful brand. So I'm happy with it now.
Good. I remember seeing it for the first time and I was like, cool, this is a law firm. This is great. Just sort of thinking through, you mentioned the New York and New Jersey bars changed their rules to allow firms to go beyond a partner's names into the more branded realm. I would imagine, we'll continue to see more and more firms follow in your path. What advice do you have to other lawyers or law firms that are considering a rename or a rebrand with something more evocative and creative beyond just a string of partners' names?
Definitely work with an agency. Now, Tange, but I think it really, I would have never come up with that name. Like really, I don't, don't know what I would have picked. And even in ChatGPT era, like it's only going to get you so far. So I really recommend it's such an important thing. At the end of the day, like, yeah, I did believe that I could name it anything, but I really wanted to be intentional and make it super easy for people to understand and make that connect. Okay. I want something that's different than a big law firm with a whole bunch of people who look and sound exactly like that are out of touch and don't understand technology. I want somebody who's meeting me where I am, understands the digital economy. And I feel like it's the first thing that people see about you. So the name is important. And I think if you work with somebody who understands that and also understands the importance of the trademark aspect behind it, it's not just picking a name. It's, hey, is this name actually available legally? Is there somebody else who has a name that's similar? Am I going to get sued? There's this whole process that goes under name selection, which is trademark law, which Scott and I have talked about separately on my own podcast. So if you work with a professional, not only are you getting the artistic side because it is an extension of you, you want to have them come up with a concept that is a reflection of you and your values, but then equally having somebody who understands that there is a legal side to it, making sure it's not taken, doing a trademark search and actually filing. If you do those two things, you're going to knock it out of the park and you're going to have a name that you love forever.
Absolutely. Trademark is super important, which is a great segue into your specific expertise and a little game I'd like to play.
Yeah,
Are you ready to play a game?
let's go.
Okay, cool. I call this game, Can You Own That? Can you own that? So I'll say a word. I'll describe a space, a trademark class or a category of goods or services that the word or name will be in. I'd like you to guess if it's something that might pass the USPTO
Ooh,
or US Patent and Trademark Office or not, and kind of explain a little bit why it might fail. We know you're
let's
not
do
going to
it.
be like rapid searching or anything like that. This is just for fun, but
Let's do it.
okay, cool. So the first category is storage systems, and the name is space. What do you
Mm,
think? Red light,
that's an
green light,
interesting one.
yellow light?
Potentially not going to work because it's space for space, which is a generic term. But maybe there's a way. Maybe you can add a logo or you can add a distinctive word to the front to try and avoid an issue. I never, ever, ever say no, Scott, unless it's literally like apples for apples, because there are things. Think of home
Right,
goods
exactly.
for home goods. I'm sure their trademark lawyers were like, hello, no, but they own home goods for home goods stores.
Goods.
So if you work with really good lawyers, there are things that you can do. They probably started with the logo version that had a distinctiveness, and then over time, where they were able to show that people recognize home goods as a brand.
Got it. Well said. I think
Yeah.
my assessment was along those lines as well, but I'm
Yeah.
not a trademark attorney, so it's nice to know. Next one, t-shirt brand. The name is OK Boomer.
Oh, this is a fun one. Okay, I love that. All right. So first of all, if you are just putting words across the shirt, that may not even meet trademark at all. That's called ornamental use. So people are allowed under the First Amendment to express themselves. So if you put things, slogans on the shirt, that may not actually be function as a trademark, number one. So if you are going to do clothing brands to prove use, you probably need it on the hang tags, on the labels, or the little, the icon that shows that it's a brand versus just ornamental use. And then okay boomer is such a common phrase. I'm not going to say no because there are things that have been trademarked, but you have to prove to the government that this is a brand that you've been using as a trademark. It's not just a common phrase. So I think just overall, initially, it would be hard because the government would probably reject it for being ornamental and being a commonly used phrase that no one owns. But if you have built a whole brand around it and you're making a lot of money and you're clearly using it as trademark, there are ways to get things.
Awesome. Excellent assessment. Next one, robotics company. Robots are us.
Ooh. Yeah, think of Toys R Us. It's not a great one, obviously. That would probably is like your nightmare, Scott. But that's why you should have something that is like from the scale of what's the strongest mark. There's a scale. There's generic words, which you can't protect. That's apples for apples. Then there's descriptive words like Mike's Hard Lemonade. There was a guy named Mike. He was selling hard lemonade. It's descriptive, but it can be protected if you show that you're using it as a brand, and that consumers recognize it as a brand. Then there's suggestive. So this is like Jaguar. You're not selling Jaguar animals, you're selling a sexy, sleek, exotic, fast car. That's like the world that everyone wants to be in, where it's like you're telling something about it. You're indicating something about the characteristic to the public and your consumer without actually saying it, without actually describing it. Those are wonderful words and they're very protectable. Then there's arbitrary, which is like Apple computers for computers. They have nothing to do with each other, but it's a real English word, and those are also protected. And the last is the made up words, like the things that mean nothing, the Googles, Clorox. Those are wonderful words from a trademark perspective. And if you lean on to that latter end we just talked about, everything from suggestive onward, those are going to give you really strong rights. You're going to be able to go out and stop other people from using them. And you'll also have some creativity, which is where Scott comes in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We love that world. All right. Last one for you. We're naming a font. The font name is emoji.
I mean, probably not. Does somebody own emoji? Probably Apple tried to own it. That's a fun one. We should look to see if emoji's trademarked yet. But even if it was trademarked, I think it's pretty generic now. So yeah, I don't think so. I think it's generic for characters that could be considered under fonts.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. And the Unicode Consortium controls emoji IP, which I would imagine includes some sort of ownership around the trademark.
So interesting.
Yeah, super fascinating. Much like this conversation, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to chat, Francesca. This was awesome. For our viewers, our listeners, where can folks find you on the internet?
We're at ESCA.legal, ESCA.legal. That's our website. I'm also on Instagram at The Trademark Attorney. You can follow me. I put out a bunch of fun educational content. And if you're a professional, you can also connect with me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Francesca. And thank you for watching How I Named It. Until next time.
Bye.